Welcome, Julien. It's great to see you again and
Experience.
looking well and in the midst of your new function as well after 5 years. Maybe you
Mhm.
can introduce yourself. Uh,
Sure, sure. Julien, so I'm working now for a company called IQVIA, which is a data and consulting healthcare company. Personally, I work as a principal in the EMEA region, and I support clients, so it can be pharma companies, biotechs, in understanding potential from a commercial standpoint, not a clinical standpoint. And I work primarily with real-world patient data, and as well as you know, one of my pet peeve is social media as well. So I keep working in social media as well within the context of the pharmaceutical industry. And it's been now 5 years. I'm working in the healthcare space, life science space. Before you knew me in the, let's say, more journalistic background, etc. So I did a detour to pharma, and I'm very happy with it now.
oh, fantastic. And this is we've been together through a lot together in different companies. And you've had many different experiences of change as well in those different companies, from working in startups to now, I think it's 60,000
Yeah.
people, I
Yes.
think. So maybe you can give an idea of what what is change for you really in a business setting, huh? What do you
Hmm.
look for?
Well, the going from the very small, as you said, startup to mid startup, like 200 people up to 800 and now 60,000 and more. Um, the thing that I've seen at least change that consistent with me, the only thing that happened when it changed it was the people who were, I don't know if I can say above me or either my managers or the leaders of teams and consistently. And I think it's also aligned with what you share with me across the years is there has to be a willingness to change and a willingness to try things that might sound sometimes a bit crazy or a bit strange or even counterintuitive. But each time it happened successfully is because the senior people above were willing to take a risk and to and not to force change. Really to, and the one who was the most successful is they wanted to change. They brought people with them. So, okay, guys, let's do something. Let's change. This is either because something was not working, or because things were working but not as good as they should, or it's because sometimes we were stuck, right? In something that did not, it was not from a business standpoint, more from behavior and team standpoint. But each time it came to the same thing is there was a leader uh, um, that was willing to bet, to make a change, right? And to bring his team with him or her team with him.
Hmm. What's so what's been your worst experience of change over time?
Ooh, maybe of not change.
Yes, not change.
Uh, well, the worst experience of change I had, it was more, like I said, it was more a reluctance or even a almost a allergic reaction to change. That
Hmm.
that was the worst I had when people were confronted to situations that were clearly not working. They were clearly toxic. There was clearly something or someone that was making the whole process, the whole relationships, the whole ways of working uh, uh, stuck. And when people refuse to see it or to do something about it, this is where for me that was my works experience with change. But there was really the incapacity of changing, either voluntarily, because some
Mhm.
people don't want things to change,
Mhm.
even if it hurts the team, right? Some people happy with that because for them it stayed the same, or because they were not capable of changing. And until the situation was so much out of control that, in my case, I left. Because and that's my worst experience. But I rarely, of course, there are in all companies changes of processes, new SAP, new softwares, new. It's never easy. It's never fun. It's never easy. But the worst experience is really when someone is not willing to change in the face of inevitable change.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it really starts with the recognition we're stuck.
Exactly.
There is a problem. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And recognizing this problem is, and I think sometimes it's both. They recognize there's a problem, but they're not willing to do anything about it, and others who don't see the problem at all. And I'm not sure which one is the worst, but I've seen both.
Yeah. Yeah. And or they don't have the capacity for change is also what you said.
Also,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, very true,
What's
very
been
true.
your best experience of organizational change?
I think, um, well, I think I'm still too early in my role now. It's less than 2 years
Mhm.
to say I've seen something about change, like a not a real change, but something very significant, right? There's been some changes, very positive. I'll say like 90% of what I'm seeing right now in my company is very positive. I would be lying if it's 100. Not everything is perfect. But I would say that in my previous role, um, I I came into a place where my role didn't really exist, right?
Mhm.
Like it was kind of an in between. I had a you know me by now. Not a weird profile, but a bit of a outlier in terms of skills and behavior. And although it was complicated because company went through 3 acquisitions, so you can imagine the amount of change that it brings. But I had again not a direct manager, but someone who was willing to put himself on the line to make the change that needed to happen for me to not blossom, sorry, a big metaphor, but for me to really start to get into a role
Mhm.
in which I could give the most to the company, right, to the business. And each time that this, I think, come back to my point at the beginning is someone willing to make a bet, and he was willing to make a bet, and I think he was probably alone trying to make that bet, but that's where the best experience comes is because if you're willing to make that bet for someone like me or for people, they will always give back. You always do your best to give it back. So I think that's my best experience again is someone's willing to recognize my role did not exist. My vision of what my role did not exist in the company
Mhm.
because it was very new. So he said, "Okay,
Let's do
go,
it.
Junior. All right,
So
let's
it's
let's do it."
taking a risk, but also recognizing talent then and
Well,
and,
I don't
and
want to.
accepting difference.
Yes, there's both. Well, I don't want to didn't want to say as well that I'm extremely talented. I'm good at what I do, uh, um, but there was also the fact that he was willing also himself. He was seeing where stuff were going and say we need something different.
Mhm.
I think to your point, he recognized that with me and say, okay, let's go, right? It might not work, it might not be the best way, but let's go for it. Let's try to change things. And it
Yeah.
really did bring a lot of change. But yeah, after, like I said, 3 acquisition, a lot of changes, not
Yeah.
everything goes the way you planned, but that's my best experience. And I'm still in contact
With this.
regularly.
Yeah. So it's someone willing to take risks to embrace difference, to recognize talents. Now you're a risk taker yourself. I think you're on the edges of innovation a lot
Yeah.
in the world of data and data mining and dark webs and um, so, do you think this ability or this willingness to take risks, do you think that's a character trait, or do you think you can learn it, or
I think Well, I think you can learn it, definitely. But again, from what I learned in the last now 15 years, if you don't have a tiny bit of this character, even a tiny bit, you don't have to, it's complicated. It's very complicated to go there. Me, when I was younger, I probably had too much. So I had to own it and to say to channel it into a way that was more productive and not destructive. But I think you can learn it. And this is we discussed very briefly before this conversation that I gave in a very humble way a short training on transactional analysis. And this is what I tried also to explain to people is I was not like this 15 years ago, 12
No,
years
you
ago.
certainly weren't.
I was not. But I learned through thanks to people like you,
Yeah.
thanks to, like I said, leaders. Like when I say managers, I mean it's
Mentors.
more leaders. They
Yeah.
they taught me how to. They didn't try to control me. They tried to channel the way I was doing and take this whole like blah 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 into something that was more productive.
Yeah.
And even if sometime I was like, I still want to do what I want to do, now I get it. But I believe it's something if you have a tiny bit of that, and if you're willing to try, you can. You're not going to go to the level of someone who's incredibly innovative, which I'm not, by the way, and incredibly like disruptive. But you can bring a bit of it, even if you're every day, and that's at least that's what I think.
Yeah. If you had young leaders, if you had to mentor young leaders yourself now, maybe people like you were 15 years ago, what would your top lessons be to them in terms of
Um,
leadership and change? What would you tell them?
um, Not everyone is against you. You probably think they are, but not everyone is against you. You have to understand that it's not because people don't see the things the way you do that their way of seeing things is not valid.
Mhm.
That's probably the most difficult lesson is to understand that no, you always want to go like this place where nobody wants to go. But some people don't like that, right? But it doesn't mean that, they're, I don't know, cowards or anything. It's just that we all have our own, way we're functioning, and doesn't mean it's wrong, right? But you have to listen to that as well. Even if sometimes you don't want to, you have to listen to that. And I think there is also a lesson that I was a bit afraid of at the beginning was I changed as you know, I changed company quite often because I didn't feel like I was fitting. But each time I realized that if I did not make all those changes, I would not be where I am today. Right? And yes, it's scary, even more now because I think the market is not that great. But if you don't do it at that time, you're not going to do it when you're 50, right?
Mhm.
So it's okay to take a leap of faith. And yes, it might be a bit scary. And no, I don't have parents who can pay my rent for 18 months. So it was very scary for me as well. But that's the three I would say, like, not everyone is against you. Um, you
Find your
have to
ally.
learn, you have to learn that other people's perspective are insightful.
Mm.
Learn from that. And the third one is, yes, you're gonna take risk and sometimes big ones, but if you don't, you're gonna regret it. Or at least that's the one I would go.
Thank you, Julia.
Of
It's
course.
great to
Thank
see
you,
you
Sally,
in
for
this
bringing
place.
me here.